from 9 Online. Today we will be doing a little bit of science. Before we do that, I want to go over the announcements. We are doing the Rainbow in the Window project. It's still happening. Look on the guidance classroom for more information on that. Also, food pickup is every Monday. We are now doing food pickup by a weekly basis. You can go to Menny's for that as well. Cole will always be live at 9 o'clock a.m. and Mrs. Speakman is doing the WMEN morning news at 8:50. For any other information, any other updates you need, always check on this channel. Make sure you subscribe to it so you know all of the updates and announcements and see all of the fun activities we do. You can also look on our Google Classroom or email myself or Mrs. Pennington. So, as you can see from my shirt, this is Albert Einstein. He's a very famous scientist, but this is a funny picture of him, and I love this shirt because it makes me laugh. So today we're looking at Chapter 1 of Plants Over Time. So I know this isn't our usual science material. We usually use our hardcover science book and our softcover science book, but since we're online and we're learning all new things over these first couple of weeks, we are going to be using this. So if you go to page 14 of your packet, I'm going to read this really quickly. I know you've already read it, but I just want to go over a couple of these things. I won't read the whole thing. The first thing is that page 14 in lesson 4 is all about flowering plants. So flowering plants are obviously, as you can probably understand from the name, they're plants that produce flowers, and they first appeared about 100 million years ago. They've been very successful. There's more than 300,000 species. And I know that word species might be a new vocabulary word for you. We have a comma or, which we know when we're reading, if we ever see a word we don't know, comma or, it's giving us another name for it. So they said species, comma, or kinds of plants. So they're all different kinds, they're all different types. A lot of different kinds of flowers. I'm sure if you're on a walk today, walking around looking for those rainbows in the window, getting some exercise, since it's spring, it's starting to feel like spring, you might start seeing some of these flowering plants come out. So look for those flowering plants. Look at how many different species you can find. Use that word species. You'll really impress your parents if you start talking about flowering plants and using scientific words like species. They would be so impressed, I'm sure. All right, so more than 3/4 of plants are flowering plants. So that's a lot of them. So since we're learning about fractions and decimals, when we think about 3/4, we can think about a fourth of a dollar is 25 cents. So 3/4 would be 75 cents, right? So 3/4, if we look at that as a decimal, it would look like 0.75. Math and science. I love when we can talk about multiple subjects in one lesson. So cool, right? All right, another word that is in here that is bold that they want us to really look at is the word reproduce. So it says many flowering plants need insects to help them reproduce. And we've talked about pollinating before. In our Journeys book, we read a whole story about bees and pollinating, and we talked about the movie. I think it's called Bees. What is that movie called? Anyways, we talked about the Bee Movie. That's what it's called. We talked about the Bee Movie and how they have to help pollinate the plants to help them reproduce and create more flowering. It also says that when insects travel from flower to flower looking for food, they carry pollen with them. When they land on another plant, the pollen joins with the second plant, right? Just like in our science experiment when we washed our hands. If you don't wash your hands, you have the germs, you carry germs to the next person, touch their hands. They carry the germs to the next person. It's the same thing happening here, but this is a good thing that's happening. So when these insects are helping these plants pollinate, they're taking the pollen and they're moving it from place to place. So this allows the plant to make seeds when it gets the different pollen that it needs, and this is called pollination. So bees are a big way, like we just talked about the Bee Movie, that help flowering plants reproduce by spreading pollen. So again, this is the page that I just reviewed a little bit. Remember to look on page 15 for the questions that go along with it. and you will be turning in this packet when we are back together again. So today we are going to be planting some flowers, and then each week we will look at them and see how they grow. So just have a little planter here. It says Flowers and Garden. Got it at the dollar store. We have our Sunny Area Wildflower Blend. So these are all different seeds of wildflowers. And you can see on the back, it talks about wildflowers. You learn a lot more by reading the boxes, reading everything that's in your house. You will learn so much when you read what's in your house. We also have potting soil, which is important. It's what we put the seeds in. And then we have water. So first we're going to put in the soil. Probably going to make a mess, but that is okay. We're going to put a lot of soil in there. Oh, windy too. Put some soil in there, make it even. I'm going to put water in because I want that soil to have lots of water. So that way when we put our seeds in, we can mix them in and we know that it'll be moist in there. Going to get pretty messy making this very moist. So we know that all living things need water and they need sunlight. I made quite the mess, but I'm not done. So I'm going to use my finger. I'm going to put little holes in there. And in these holes I'm going to put the seeds. Ooh. Again, it's really windy out here. Put those seeds in the holes. I bought these seeds last year, so hopefully they still work. They haven't gone bad, but I guess we'll find out, right? So now if you look in there, I have all of my soil. The seeds are in. We're going to put plastic wrap on top to create a greenhouse effect, just like your car might have get really, really hot, right? Because when it's the summer and the sun comes through the window, it gets really hot in your car. And then when the windows are closed, it traps that heat in there. And since it's not summer, we want to trap the heat in here to help our little seeds. So I'm going to put plastic wrap on top when I go inside. And we will look back at these. Maybe we'll do this every Friday. We can call this Flowering Friday, just like how we had Moldy Monday. So, thanks for watching. Go plant a flower of your own. Plant some seeds, maybe plant a garden. And look for those flowering plants when you're out on your walk. Use that word species, talk about pollination. And don't forget to complete your science packet. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.